On December 15th, 1,900 years after the year of our Lord, in the ancient legendary village of Bakersfield, California, was birthed a behemoth by the name of Brian Turahan Emerson Moreland, better known by the name EDP445. A man who would be famed on the internet for his enormous appetite for greasy, substandard, shit-quality food, only to be outmatched by his appetite for, let's just call it, 13-year-old cupcakes.
Sure. Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
Little known is about the heyday of the EDP legend. What we do know is that he took a profound interest in American football, namely the Philadelphia Eagles, from a very early age. And when I say he took a profound interest in American football, I meant that he took a profound interest in watching American football, not actually playing it because, well, it's hard to play American football when you have the body fat percentage of an elephant seal, and when your muscle fibers have the tensile strength of marshmallow fluff. And that brings me to his other passion, eating food, and lots of it. EDP has struggled with obesity from an early age. In fact, I believe that EDP's existence is really just a public health service announcement, telling people what happens to your mind and body when you drink more Mountain Dew than water. I wouldn't be surprised if EDP believes that Fanta is healthy because it's orange flavored. When you spend most of your time watching American football on your couch while consuming enough calories to feed an entire NFL team in one season, you are going to end up with a number of serious health complications. After high school, EDP got a very prestigious job at Walmart. Now, most of you know that working at Walmart is probably one of the worst things that can happen to your mind, body, and soul. Ever look at a Walmart greeter, stare them in the eyes, and you will stare into the abyss of an existential crisis. But hey, at the end of the day, people need to work to support themselves, and any job is a noble job if you just take it from that perspective. After all, Walmart provided EDP with a wide variety of goods to consume. Many healthy goods. I mean, just look at this tomato flavor Lay's potato chips. Tomatoes are a vegetable, so this must be healthy. And potatoes are also a vegetable, so double healthy. And they're deep fried in vegetable oil, triple healthy. You can see this video of him buying numerous jugs of fruit juice as well. I find it quite amusing that he's fond of guzzling sugary lemonade, but there isn't a single fucking lemon in his shopping cart. And when you're consuming the same amounts of sugar-based calories as an entire honeybee farm, you are bound to get diabetes and kidney failure. EDP would not only consume, but would also produce. He would oftentimes broadcast himself to the world, starting in 2010, when he uploaded his first video involving what was, at the time, a 19-year-old EDP trying to rap. Emphasis on the word trying.
That like to get his balls licked. Lick me up with some fucking ham, then come suck me up sideways with some yummy ass spam. And I know my shit don't rhyme.
As bad as it is, I personally think that he has a lot more talent than Lil Wayne, and pretty much all the mumble rappers combined. However, given his lack of overall musical talent, or lack of relative musical talent more accurately, he eventually switched to mostly talking about the NFL, along with the occasional other random topic here and there. He also started a cooking channel, but this didn't really go anywhere given the fact that he was nowhere near as good at cooking food as he was at eating it. Eating food, or more accurately, inhaling fast food. Why bother cooking when Colonel Sanders produces far better chicken tenders than anything he could make? It's also worth noting that his name EDP stands for Eat Dat Pussy 445. While he is very good at eating, it's needless to say that while many women, or most women, do thoroughly enjoy having their pussies eaten, I don't believe most of them would be particularly fond of having their pussies eaten by a guy who has the body texture of Play-Doh and weighs around as much as a Honda Civic. He eventually had to create a new channel due to the inappropriateness of his name, and as a result, it just became an initialism, EDP. However, this content still wasn't family friendly. EDP would cuss like an 11-year-old who just found out what the word shit means. He also says the word shit so many times in a sentence that it almost sounds like a grammatical term or a preposition rather than an actual form of profanity, or even a reference to feces. And speaking of feces, he also produced a lot of that as well. I mean, given the fact that he ate so much, it's not a surprise that he also produced a lot of waste products.
I just overflooded the toilet. Oh, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go. Yeah. So, I basically stormed the fuck out of Chipotle right now. Got people looking at me and shit, so yeah, I just took a mean ass shit in Chipotle, and I've been holding this shit for almost 15-16 hours, and I used so much tissue to wipe my ass with. When I flushed the toilet, it didn't go all the way the fuck down, so
the excess swearing and tough guy attitude just kinda made him come off as a weak little bitch boy who was trying to act really hardcore even though his gut was about as tough as the inside of a Mars chocolate bar. He would release more highbrow content, such as him flooding more toilets at fast food restaurants, or just straight up consuming fast food in his car. I think that there isn't a single job on the face of the planet Earth that is worse than cleaning up the bathrooms at Chipotle or Taco Bell. He eventually started to move on to more intellectual content, such as him talking about the experience of eating snacks on the toilet.
So, I got a quick question for you guys. Am I the only person that likes to sometimes snack on food while taking a shit?
It's a good thing that toilets are not sentient beings because I cannot imagine the trauma of having this man's ass planted on top of you. It's a good thing that toilets are not sentient because I cannot imagine the psychological trauma the porcelain throne would experience. Anyway, EDP would make other media appearances, such as one with Tyler the Creator, the rapper, as well as showing up on Tosh.0. However, his peak would be crestfallen. His story would take a darker turn, as he had a history of online sexual interactions with, let's just say, Cupcakes. There were a number of instances of him falling for underage decoys that just kinda slipped under the rug, and for a while no one really paid that much attention to them. The most notable example of this was his beef with Cold Raven. However, these would not be isolated incidents. He was found to be texting around 8 minors, or more accurately, decoys pretending to be minors. However, it wasn't until 2021 when the YouTube predator hunter Alex Rosen, also known as Chet Goldstein, would end up confronting Bryant on his, let's just say, illicit activity. EDP had fallen for a decoy who pretended to be a 13-year-old Cupcake. This included graphic images of, let's just say, his reproductive organ. Given EDP's size, in terms of his gut, and let's just say uncharismatic personality, I'm assuming that those organs have not really been put into use with another human being before. What would eventually turn out to be the case was that a brash, overconfident, aggressive persona of EDP was essentially whittled down to a weak, middling bitch boy.
Go ahead. Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home. There was, nothing that was going to be sexual involved because I'm not like that. Well, obviously the text messages and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't sexual except for the time you showed her your ballsack. Anyway, the viral clip would spread like wildfire, and he would get a massive backlash and eventually cancel his YouTube account. He tried to open up other channels on other platforms, only to be trolled incessantly. Eventually, he would privatize all of his videos and would get his channel terminated. Or more accurately, channels terminated. The video would eventually go down as one of the most high-profile YouTube shitstorms that ever happened during the COVID era. At this point, his career as a sports journalist, if you could call him that, was functionally over. He would try to find new jobs. However, many people on the internet would find out that he had these new jobs, such as that of a Lyft driver or a security guard, and they would eventually contact his employers about his hunger for cupcakes. And lo and behold, in 2023, he was caught again, messaging a 15-year-old Cupcake, and this was followed by a video stating, quote, "I am EDP445's victim," with a grand total of 6 exclamation marks, so you know it's serious. Putting the typical Pred stuff aside, it was quite amusing and disturbing knowing how fond he was of urination and defecation. He was quite fond of using his bodily fluids in general, and just let's say that some of these bodily fluids don't make particularly good frosting on a cupcake. It also wouldn't help that he would threaten this girl under the auspices that she might be a decoy, which she kind of was. This shows us that not only was he willing to hunt after Cupcakes, but he also was willing to threaten them and perhaps be violent towards his victims. Eventually, a streamer by the name of Gideon, along with Chris Hansen impersonator Skeeter Jean, would confront Bryant in front of a kidney dialysis center. The whole incident was pretty much an overhyped flop, as EDP just told him, quote, "Kiss my ass." Needless to say, neither of these gentlemen kissed his bulbous ass. Skeeter Jean even managed to get a picture of EDP in makeup. You can just see the feminine beauty of this alpha male. Perhaps he's planning on transitioning. Speaking of trans people and protecting children, Brian would eventually upload a video chastising Chris Tyson, a former crew member of Mr. Beast, for being transgendered, saying that she was threatening children simply by being transgender. The self-awareness level was at a grand total of 0, although Chris Tyson would eventually have her own similar controversy. EDP would eventually issue a half-ass apology, with the sincerity that you'd expect from P. Diddy. This apology had the same amount of authenticity as a Pizza Hut deep dish bacon stuffed crust pizza pretending to be from Napoli, Italy, or Taco Bell pretending to be Mexican. He uploaded smaller channels that included riveting content complaining about OnlyFans girls. He hates big-titted corn stars because he prefers his girls flat-chested. Now, EDP's story has yet to conclude. However, I believe that the saga will end sooner rather than later, as people who weigh as much as a redwood tree tend to not live past the age of 40.